Trois tortues trottaient sur un toit trop étroit. Trois tortues trottaient sur un toit trop étroit.
I have to say, for me, the hardest thing about this is the word TOIT because I have the tendency to always add R's anyway. And because there are so many trois, tortue, trotte, I'm going to want to say trois.
Yeah, that's part of the trick here. It's almost a twister that's tricking you into adding an R where there is none. Uh, TOIT is the word for roof, and if you had the R in there, if you said trois, it would be the word for three, and the sentence would not make sense anymore.
Because it makes lots of sense already.
It does, doesn't it?
Why don't we translate it first and then we'll talk about the problems?
Okay. Trois, three. Tortues, turtles. Trotter, were trotting. Sur, on. Un, a. Toit, roof. Trop, two. Étroit, narrow. So three turtles were trotting on a roof too narrow.
So the real issue here is getting the R both before and after the T.
Yes, and that's always a little bit of a difficulty in French, especially in lyric diction when we want to really use a flipped R, because the flipped R is not a very strong sound and it's really just a very subtle motion of the tip of the tongue. When it's between vowels, it's usually fairly easy, like we have sur un toit in here. But when it's between a vowel and a consonant or between a consonant and a vowel, it gets a little bit more difficult, especially when it's around a T, because T and R in French, if you do the flipped R, are articulated in the same place of the tongue. So you have to be very clear with the tip of the tongue as to what it's doing. Trois tortues. And I think it's the hardest version of this is when the R comes before the T. When the R is after the T, like trois or trotte, it's actually not so bad.
We're almost used to that from Italian.
Exactly, and it's sort of the T gets the R to flip very naturally, but in the other direction, it's not as easy. Tortue is a little bit harder. This is a place where if this were in song context, I would suggest practicing by adding a little shadow vowel in that word tortue, just to get a little bit of separation between the R and the T, so that the R can come out clearly without being rolled or too strong.
Basically, we want this R to fully release before we say the T and not get stuck at the top going into the T.
Yes, exactly. And the solution is not to roll it. Tortue, that would not sound very French. And you probably noticed that when I spoke this fast, I actually did not use the flipped R. I used the uvular R, just because it's very, very difficult to flip these R's properly in this kind of a fast pace, which would not really happen that much in song anyway.
Yeah. One of the other things that we find is the word trou in liaison.
Yes, trop is an interesting word. It's one of the few words where the vowel will actually change when it's in the context of a liaison. Trop on its own should have a closed O, but when we do the liaison after it, that closed O opens to an open O. And so we will say trop étroit and not trop étroit.
We also have, I would call this the advanced version of this tongue twister that is not just 3 turtles, but 33 turtles.
Yes, so 33 tortues trottaient sur 33 trottoirs trop étroits.
And here we actually have a different word. In the first one, in the easier version, we have toit, but here we have trottoir.
Trottoir is the word for a sidewalk in French, so our 3 turtles now are 33 turtles, and they're not on a roof anymore, they're on the trottoir. One thing to note with both the word trotter and trottoir is that we do not double those T's in there. It's really single T sounds. Trois tortues trottaient sur un toit trop étroit. Trois tortues trottaient sur un toit trop étroit. 33 tortues trottaient sur 33 trottoirs trop étroits. 33 tortues trottaient sur 33 trottoirs trop étroits.